Hello students, I am Dr. Protibha Mukherjee from the Department of English, Durga Mahavidyalaya, Raipur, at present holding the post of principal. Today's video lecture is on Mahashweta Devi's Gyanpith Award winning Mother of 1084, more famously known as Hazar Chaurasi Ki Maa. Mahashweta Devi needs little introduction. Devi was born in 1926 in Dhaka in East Bengal, modern day Bangladesh, to very literary parents. Her father, Manish Ghatak, was a poet and a novelist, and her mother, Dharitri Devi, was also a writer and a social worker. Her first schooling was in Dhaka, but after the partition of India, she had to move to West Bengal. She joined Shantiniketan and completed her BA Honours in English, and then she finished her Masters in English at Calcutta University. In response to the question in an interview in 1988, "What would you like to do for the rest of your life?" she answered, "Fight for the tribals, downtrodden, underprivileged, and write creatively if and when I find the time." This sums up Devi, the woman and the writer. Unlike many Indian writers who prefer to observe the hurly-burly of existence from the lofty distance, Mahashweta Devi was actively involved with human lives. She worked with the tribals in Purulia, West Bengal, for over a quarter of a century and spoke of them with great passion. Her powerful stories about the dispossessed, along with her activism on their behalf, made her one of the best known and most frequently translated of India's authors. This activism is central to Devi's understanding of the role of a writer in society. Devi did not believe in the adage art for art's sake. Devi once said, "I think a creative writer should have a social conscience. I have a duty towards society. Yet I don't really know why I do these things. The sense of duty is an obsession. I must remain accountable to myself." Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak, an eminent scholar, writer, translator, opinion maker, who had translated two collections of Devi's stories, insisted that Devi's oeuvre suggests a model in which activism and writing can reflect upon each other, providing a necessary vision of internationality and the possibility of constructing a new kind of responsibility for the cultural worker. Among Devi's many awards were the Gyanpith Award, India's highest literary award, which she received in 1996, and the Raman Magsaysay Award, the Asian equivalent to the Nobel Prize, which she received in 1997, along with Sahitya Akademi Award, Padma Shri, and Padma Vibhushan. Totally committed to the cause of the tribals, she donated her entire prize money from the Gyanpith and Magsaysay to the organization that she had set up for them. As a writer, her contribution can be evaluated by her major works like Hazar Chaurasi Ki Maa, Aranyer Adhikar, Ognigarbho, Rudali, Breast Stories, Outcast, and so on. Out of her 5 plays, Mother of 1084, Ajir, Urboshi Ojoni, Bayan, Water, Mother of 1084 can be read both as a narrative fiction and as a play. Mother of 1084 was transcreated into a play by Mahashweta Devi herself. The story is actually based on facticity and historicity. The story describes the turbulent decade of the 70s in Bengal, popularly known as the Naxalite movement, a decade that can be called a decade of a lost generation. This movement became identified with the first uprising of the farmers in Naxalbari area, which is towards the north of Bengal. This farmers' rights movement found lots of support from the intellectuals, especially the students of Bengal. It was a time when Bengal was plagued by unemployment. Students could not find jobs. There was scarcity of food. It was a very painful decade of disillusionment. This movement drew lots and lots of young people from the age of 16 to 40, and these people were suddenly lost. The establishment, like an oppressive force, to suppress this Naxal movement, and there were many police encounters, false encounters, students were picked up, taken away to unknown places and simply shot. The establishment became like an oppressive force to suppress this Naxal movement. There were many police encounters, false encounters, students were picked up, taken away to unknown places and simply shot. 1970s was indeed a very turbulent decade. Mahashweta Devi, in her introduction in Mother of 1084, said, "In the 70s, in the Naxalite movement, I saw exemplary integrity, selflessness, and the gut to die for a cause. I thought I saw history in the making and decided that as a writer, it would be my mission to document it." Mother of 1084 was born out of this agony and tragedy of the Naxalite movement, which is often called the Millennium Satan. In this play, Devi voices against the corruption and the cruel system. Now we talk about the characters in the play because they play the most important role in developing the story. So we have Sujata Chatterjee, who is the main protagonist and a very strong mother, Debena Chatterjee, the husband of Sujata, and they have 4 children, 2 sons, Jyoti and Brati, and 2 daughters, Nipa and Tuli. It is Brati who becomes the rebel and who joins the Naxalite movement. Then we have Nandini, who is Brati's comrade and his beloved, who assisted Sujata to unveil the mystery of Brati's death. And then we have Shomu, Partho, Laltu, and Somu's mother. They all play to make this a very important story. Now we come to the significance of the title Mother of 1084. When we talk about Mother of 1084, which has also been made into a very powerful film by Govind Nihalani, what we find here is the title that leads us into the story. So, what is the title? Mother of 1084 or Hazar Shaba Sikima. We have 2 words here, mother and a number 1084. These actually take us into the story. Mother, who is the archetypal figure. In Indian culture, we think of mother with certain attributes: nurturing, caring, immense love for the children. So here too, we have the story of a mother. And what about the number? What is this number? 1084 is the identity given to Brati's body by the police. 1084 denotes the corpse of a son lying in the morgue. In the official records, Brati was never mentioned by the name anywhere. The number 1084 was all that remained of him as a disembodied body, an abstract figure. So, this is the story of a mother and a number. In the play, Devi looks at the urban Bhadralok, Bengal in the context of the rising people's movement and offers us a view of the politics which is both moving and disturbing. So we come to the story. Brati, who becomes a Naxal, is rejected. Debena Chatterjee, the father, refuses to accept the body of his son Brati. Nandini has to tell Sujata the real motive of her son's protest. The officials fought against the Naxals, deliberately killing them. Brati's sister's engagement party, celebrated on Brati's birthday, is coincidentally the day of his death too. Ironically, the police officer who is responsible for all this, Saroj Pal, is also invited to the party. Mother of 1084 examines the story of a mother whose son was brutally killed by the state because of his ideology of advocating the brutal killing of class enemies, collaborators with the state, and counter-revolutionaries within the party. Set in the urban Bengal, the play realistically portrays the climatic phase of the annihilation of the Naxalites of the 70s. The play presents a political analysis that lay behind the inhuman massacre of the likes of Brati Chatterjee and his companions. The killing of Brati Chatterjee and his comrades is a part of the organized brutality against the Naxalites committed by the police, the party in power, hired goons, acting in unholy nexus. In the whole gamut of the play, Sujata is the most significant personality. All through the play, she is presented as a woman of strong will who struggles against all odds. Sujata finally understands and accepts the dynamics of grief, unbearable pain, and ultimate loss caused by the premature death of her younger son, Brati. She firmly believes that her son Brati was not a criminal. He was reluctant to accept the code of the corrupted society. She understands that death is the only punishment for those who lose faith in the system. The angst that flames in the heart of Sujata fails to make inroads into the hearts of the other family members. They remain wrapped in their daily activities and normal routine life. The Naxalite movement created a gap in the society. On the one hand was the men burning with idealistic zeal, talking about a regeneration of a perfect state of being. On the other were the people wearing masks, pretending that all is well. Sujata is caught in between. Nandini's condition, however, makes Sujata forget her own personal loss. She is able to think of the innumerable young men who have similarly set out to conquer the world, like her son. Personal despondency leads to a sense of concern for all these men. She realizes that upheavals disrupt life to a considerable extent. It is not what life and fate has in store for us that matters, but what we do with it when it comes. There may be pain and suffering, but no abiding hopelessness or helplessness. No power on earth, no imposition, no catastrophe, however large, has the power to uproot the personal dignity of any human being. The seeming caprice and unfairness of life is only the edge of the design. The option and destiny does not remain equivocal. This realization forms the very basis of the play. The theme Devi has chosen for her play, according to her own admission, was the awakening of an apolitical mother Sujata, affluent yet very sensitive and enlightening. A mother who had not known till the shock of an early morning phone call from the police morgue that her favorite son had become part of the Naxalite movement. It is only when she meets Somu's mother and Nandini that she comprehends a moral rationale for her son's revolt. It is 2 years after Brati's death that she comes to know a part of her son's life she had never known. Sujata is the predominant voice and is referred to as the mother of the corpse number 1084. Sujata is caught in a strange predicament. It involves a process of learning and slowly edging towards a decision. Her behavior begins to change in an alarming manner. The cocoon is shed off, and the self stands exposed in its raw intensity. The visit to the police station proves to be a nightmare for Sujata. A very taut Sujata stands in front of the 5 dead bodies, with her hand tightly pressed to her mouth, a look of disbelief in her eyes. She is an image of a suffering self. She is unable to confront the reality. She whispers incoherently, "I'll take him home." The officer, however, denies to hand over the dead body. Sujata is too shattered to retaliate. After the son's death, Sujata feels that she is a failed mother. She has not been able to understand her dear son and the ideals and visions for which he had to languish for long. Sujata discovers her son and his cause, and this helps her to rediscover her own self. She comes to terms with herself not only as a mother, but as a woman and as a human being. She is able to discard the female's passive maternal role, so deeply entrenched in culture and society, that it is presumed to be woman's natural destiny. The power of the self is able to vanquish the power of patriarchy. The transformation of Sujata is not less revolutionary than the transformation of the dead sun. It is thus that she is able to violate the code of conduct of the typical structured patriarchal setup. The journey from the voiceless pawn to the strong voiced trooper is at the core of the play. The volte-face of the celebrated Sujata stands out as vehement comment on society at large. Mother of 108 was not just Prati's mother Sujata, but Mahashweta Devi herself too. Devi's heart bled as she saw these profiteers, adulterators, spurious drug makers, self-seeking politicians ruling the roost, while the have-nots were forced to live in penury. Devi made a vehement protest against the manner in which people generally stay or pretend to stay unperturbed and complacent at the time when society stands on the brink of a crisis. Sujata breaks free from the power structure that has been controlling factor of her life to project a strong and affirmative voice that is able to rise above circumstances. The docile, middle-aged Sujata is finally able to shed off her cloak of diffidence and assert her own self. She becomes the symbol of the universal bereaved mother. Mother of 1084 portrays the other face of the human story that emanated from the restless political adventure of the vibrant Bengali youth, which were ruthlessly cowed by the then Congress government until the Communist Party displaced them, and who then again themselves ruthlessly crushed the same Bengali youths. Finally, although the language transference in translation leads to certain kind of loss in the original language term, nevertheless, in this play, translation succeeds in bringing across the story of Brati and Sujata Chatterjee as very powerful protagonists of the play, Mother of 1084, penned by the great Mahashweta Devi. I conclude with a very loaded dialogue spoken by Sujata to her husband. Did Brati die to let you carry on in your cadaverous existence? I am leaving it to you students to ponder over this. Thank you. Looking forward to meet you again. Bye-bye.